Good morning. I'm Pete Najarian on this Thursday morning. This is an unbelievable take. And the reason I say that is when we look back at the last few days, not just yesterday, but even the last couple of days, just been an extraordinary week. You go back to Friday and Monday, and we talked about this already, down about 1,000 points. All of a sudden you come into Tuesday and Wednesday. Let's just erase that. Let's forget about the Delta virus. Let's do this. Let's focus on earnings. Let's focus on this, but we're not looking at the virus. And that's kind of the markets that we're in right now. This movement is just an unbelievable movement that we are seeing. And yesterday, one of the most interesting parts about yesterday to me was, so we had a big jump. First 30 minutes of the day, we have a nice explosive move to the upside. As a matter of fact, I looked over at the Dow. It approached a certain level, 34,794. That was the level that we had hit. Do you know where we closed yesterday? 34,798. We did have some fluctuation in there for the rest of the day, but when you look at that, that's really pretty extraordinary, especially, when you put that up against where we have been and some of the movements and the late day movements and the early and all the rest of it. Just an explosive day yesterday, up 286 points on the Dow. We added about 133 to the NASDAQ, and NASDAQ had a nice explosive move to the upside. And it's just incredible how fast the markets can have the memory loss of what happened on Friday and the news source of that along with Monday. And here we are. So we just continue on, and we just got to trade the markets that we've got, like we've talked about many, many times. As a matter of fact, take a look at crude oil. We were looking at the overnight markets of about a 67 level for crude. And the next thing you know, we explode up into the 70s and finish at 70 and a quarter yesterday. A really, really impressive move to the upside, which is exactly why we had energy with a bell-to-bell lead, just strong and continue to be strong, and built upon that strength, finished up about 3.5% yesterday. As a matter of fact, you look at some of those beta names, and they had been getting hit. Well, they really did bounce as well. That bounce from Apache and Devon and Pioneer. You take a look at all of these different names in the XOP, and you'll get an idea of what I'm talking about. You had that very explosive move to the upside. By the way, it was not just those names. Take a look at Chevron yesterday as well, having an unbelievable explosive move to the upside, up about 3.5% or thereabouts. Just an unbelievable move in the energy space. We also had that nice spike in the 10-year. That 10-year spike certainly does help out the financials, right? Because there was so much concern in the angst as we were going up higher. We hit that 1.6. We were going towards 2. Everybody started getting nervous. Oh, then we pulled out the rug and we slipped back down. Are we going to go back to 1%? Whoop, there we are to the next move. That's exactly what we've been seeing. And about a 1.28 is where we were yesterday in terms of that 10-year. Well, you look over at the financials, and across the financials, I'm not just talking about banks, I'm saying financials. And I say that for a reason. Take a look at one of the leaders that we've been talking about here on the take for a really long time, Capital One. Capital One had an amazing day yesterday, up about 3%. All of these different financial names like Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan, UBS, Citi, you take a look at all of these names, and a really nice, powerful move to the upside, up about 2% or even a little bit more than that. Capital One's the one that I'm always focused on. It's one of the many names in the financial space that I've had a piece of for quite a while now, coming up on well over a year. And I bring that up because they sit in a very interesting spot because, yes, they are a bank to some degree, but they're also essentially a credit card company to a degree, actually a much bigger degree, about 60 some odd % of that revenue. So when you look at some of these names, you have to know, where are they really? Where do they fit in? Where does a Morgan Stanley fit in versus a JP Morgan versus a Goldman Sachs? All of them are different, and we have to always recall that. So that made things pretty interesting. Those beta names in energy were 4% or more across the board, by the way. Bitcoin did rally, did come back, got back up and over, and was trading 31,700 yesterday. So that was an impressive move as well. The VIX got underneath 18. We talked about what a short trip we had in terms of how long were we going to stay over that 20 level. Did you use the opportunity there to use some of those implied volatilities as we got over 20? And we only were able to hold on for a short term, maybe 48 hours or thereabouts. But here we are once again down in the beneath that 18 level. So Moderna stood out for me because it just continues to be one of these names that seems to be in focus on a day in and day out basis. and explosive moves just continue in Moderna to the upside yesterday, about 4.5%. We talk about those cruise lines as well. Take a look at what some of those names have done over the last couple of trading sessions. Really, Carnival Cruise, Royal Caribbean, Norwegian, all of them having a really, really nice day. Now, the last thing I want to say about yesterday before we jump into today is this. We had about, I didn't get an exact number, but very, very close, if not more than 50 unusual option activities yesterday. Just to give you a little idea of just how powerful that has been. Just an amazing day yesterday. And by the way, volumes really weren't as high. So it's amazing that you could understand that we would have 30, 40, 50 unusuals on a day where we trade 50 million contracts. We actually pulled back a little bit more yesterday. Still impressive numbers. 34.2 million contracts was the volume that we were seeing yesterday. So we come into today. We get these reports. We're listening to these jobless claims. Certainly a much different number than was projected out there and expected 350,000. They actually come in at 419,000. Cause for a little bit of concern, and the market started to reflect that, particularly to the Dow. The Dow suddenly had moved decently to the downside, nothing major, but we've pushed and we've gotten close to triple-digit moves to the downside. But it seems like we're just able to shake that off as well. As a matter of fact, I took a quick peek just this second. We're still down about 30 points, but that's much better than early on. We were down 80 to 100 points. We've been bouncing around there, and we've recovered pretty nicely there. Looks like the NASDAQ wants to be in positive territory and hold on to that positive territory with some nice moves from tech, not from the semiconductors. Semiconductors actually not looking all that great today. They were down about 0.5% when I last looked, but it's technology, and it's not just technology. It's, again, old school technology. It's Salesforce. We're looking at Microsoft. We're looking at Apple and those kinds of names really being the ones that are the better performers. Again, financials, a little bit of pressure today. So we're seeing less there in the financial area, but we are seeing what's going on in the tech spot for sure, which last I looked, technology was up about 0.5%, maybe a little bit more. There's a couple of names that really did stand out. We talk about the semiconductors. How about what's going on with Texas Instrument? So chip demand concerns, what's going forward? Have they hit peak? All of that seems to be kind of bottled into what was an unbelievable report that they put up. And yet the stock, when I was last looked at it, was down over 5%, maybe as much as 5.5%. We'll see if there's any kind of a bounce there. That one, for me, I'm looking at very closely, and I got to look a lot more closely at that name because it's a name that I've been in very infrequently. We've seen it very infrequently on the unusual option activity, but it's one of those names that they're across so many different areas of the marketplace that they have exposure to. Makes it very, very interesting. I'm going to be taking a look at that as it's under this pressure today to see if there is any opportunity there that might stand out. Domino's Pizza, absolutely explosive move to the upside, really impressive, 5.5%. So let's jump forward. Oh, by the way, look at Bitcoin, back up over 32,000 once again. So did get underneath that 30,000 level. Things looked like it was heading even a further south. And now we've had a couple of days where we've bounced back pretty nicely for Bitcoin, but certainly something I think we all want to keep an eye on as well as one of those alternatives. And we've got our Bitcoin guys here at Market Rebellion that do an absolutely excellent job. You're going to want to check them out when you get an opportunity. So first unusual out of two, DOCU. Now this one's pretty interesting. We've already had this once this week. You take a look, stock was trading today about 307.55. We had a buyer 2,700, not a giant buyer, but again, to see this name hitting and hitting and hitting, it's pretty interesting. This buyer of 2,700 of tomorrow's expiring, the 23rd of July, the 310 call. So not a huge move to the upside if needed, but if this stock can continue on the path that it's been on, moving to the upside, this is one of those names, we call it a stay-at-home stock. It's really much more than that, and it's something that I think is really going to be a much bigger part of society as we go forward. But nonetheless, got a lot of big moves since obviously the pandemic started. Those options were going for about $1.45 all the way up to about $2.75. So stock was certainly moving to the upside. Those options were moving to the upside as that buying came in that particular name. First Energy is the second one, FE. We do not see this name very often. Utilities are not always the most exciting thing in the world for us to trade, but I tell you what, I do like this specific name. Oftentimes when we've seen it hit, and on top of that, some pretty decent sizable trades in there. Stock was trading 39.60. We had a buyer of 14,600. So a nice size of the August, giving us a little bit more time than tomorrow's expiration, the August 40 call. So basically it just at the money call, and they bought these for 55 cents up to about 95 cents. So it's a pretty aggressive buying there in FE. It's one of these names, as I say, that occasionally it does hit. We see it occasionally, and it could be pretty interesting because of the volumes that we're seeing there. That's a pretty nice trade to see hitting, and the extension of time. Most everything else, it seems like, is going to be expiring tomorrow. It's amazing how many options are getting traded in the last couple of days where they're just buying just a day or two for the next move. And we've had those kind of moves when you look at the broadness of the markets, and I talk about the markets reacting the way they have just in the last couple of trading sessions. It really has been remarkable how quickly we've been able to bounce back from Friday and Monday's sell-offs that we had seen. Folks, have a great day of trading. Look forward to seeing you tomorrow. It's going to be a busy day. I look forward to seeing you on the take. I've got some WCCO I'm doing as well. And on top of that, I've got the noon and the 5, and then we got the cocktail hour. Tomorrow's going to be a busy day. Have a great day today.